welcome back to another video. Today I'm gonna make a consumable tier list for every single consumable in the game right now up to the Ducky 2025 Easter event. I'm gonna just give my personal ranking, what I find like the best or the worst consumable, and what rank they should deserve. So first we're gonna actually start with the grenade. Now this is a alright consumable. It does 125 damage in a small area, and overall it's only really good for like normal abnormals get past your defense. You can just quickly get rid of them so they don't damage your base and you lose like the bonus cash from the round. Overall though, like later in the game, it's not that useful. It's only 125 damage and has a very small range. But I'd say it's B tier. I mean, it's a good consumable, and it can save you in a pinch. Now, next up is the flashbang, and the flashbang is actually A. Well, what it does is it stuns anyone within range, kind of like the grenade, for 5 seconds. I know it says 4 seconds in the description, but it's actually 5 seconds. Small little error. However, for bosses, it just slows them down, which is still extremely good because not a lot of things can like slow down a boss. So overall, I think it's better than the grenade because it still has use early game when a few pesky like hiddens, like that you just can't kill like on time. So you need like a bit of 5 seconds or so to just get your hidden detection up, or let your few hidden towers just clean them up. It can be very useful. And again, when it's like Badlands, for example, when the final boss walks down the path, you can just slow him down, so like your minigunners and stuff can take him out. Next up with the barricades, and I also think this is an A tier. I was debating to put it on S tier, but I think it's just not quite there, but it's really good. Early game, you create like a small little structure with 150 health that kills zombies. What makes it good is for the early game, for sure, because you can focus on farming or just get a little bit more cash for like a more expensive tower you can't afford at the very start, and also just catch leaks, catch like a stronger enemy that's about to kill you. You can place it down kind of as a grenade with a bit more damage, but without the AoE kind of. But I think it's just good for early game to catch leaks. Because at the end of a round, if you take damage, you don't get the bonus cash, which can really hurt your economy. Even if it's like 50 cash or so, it adds up. So just catching those leaks, really good. Next up, we have Molotov, and I say it's about the same tier as the grenade, because it does do, like, it melts defense and it lasts longer, about 6 seconds or so. However, it kind of also depends, because if the enemy is like really quick, it might do less damage, or if they are immune to fire, stuff like that. So it kind of just depends. The grenade might be better in some cases, the Molotov better in other cases. So I'd say they're about the same. I think Molotov is a bit better because it does melt defense, so it brings a bit of utility and it's a bit better late game. But by that time you should probably already have something in the melt defense, like a flamethrower or a toxic gunner or something like that. And then the turkey leg, D tier. I think the turkey leg is really bad because first of all it only heals 15 health, 15 base health, which is barely anything. That's like 3 zombies, 3 normal zombies. And second, you shouldn't even be taking damage. You should avoid taking damage. I guess it's nice if you get damaged early on and then you can just heal up a bit. But later in the game, enemies have so much health, the chances of them doing like 199 damage when you have 200 base health, very slim. So as well as you really want to avoid taking damage anyway, because then you don't get, again, the bonus cash, which can really help your economy, especially when you're farming. So tanking damage and healing afterwards is not, in my opinion, the best strat. Same thing goes for the fruitcake. It does heal 50 health in a span of 10 seconds, which are way better than a turkey. However, Same case, 50 health isn't all that much, and you should try avoid taking damage. Of course, you can't always avoid taking damage, but you should when you can. But then, the polar opposite, the supply drop, which gives you 1000 cash, can be used 3 times for a total of 3000 cash. Really good. It can really snowball your economy, especially like early on when, or if you need an expensive tower, like I don't know, the accelerator or the pursuit, you want to save for that to put it early game. You can with a little cash boost. It's really good. It can really snowball your economy or save you in a pinch. Overall, it's free money basically. Even after the nerf where they removes a bit of the cash it gave, still really good. Now we have the airstrike, which is an A tier. It's basically just a better grenade. It does 600 damage in the form of 6 bombs in like a wider area than a grenade. It's really good for a rush of weaker enemies or with breakers, especially breakers. However, it's not that much damage. Like 600 in a, in a compared to like an accelerator, it's not that much, or like a mortar. So it's good for catching leaks. It's not a bad consumable, and most consumable aren't even meant to win you the game. They're like a small advantage you can just use like that instantly to like not die. So all in all, it's really good, the airstrike. And then we have the UAV, which I think is another S tier. What it does is it gives you both 30% extra range, and it gives you hidden detection for every single tower for 30 seconds, which is amazing. It's probably one of the best, because a lot of towers actually suffer from not having hidden detection. So just giving them all over the entire map is already crazy, and then also giving them range, it's like a better range flag, which we'll get to later. Really underrated, and I actually don't see it used enough. It can like, you can get the rangers, for example, that don't have hidden detection naturally. Boom, hidden detection. It's really good, especially for if you play Pizza Party, and on the 39th wave, I think, there's an invisible Reaper boss. Really good, especially for solo. Otherwise, you can't really beat the map solo without it. And then we have the cluster bomb, which I think is another S, because it's kind of like the airstrike, but it also stuns the enemies, and it does even more damage. It does, I think, the initial does 100 damage, and then drops 6 more bombs. So in my opinion, it's a better airstrike, as well having the utility of a flashbang. It's really good. It's shame it's exclusive to Christmas, so you can't just like spam it whenever you want. But if you do have a bunch of them saved up, solid consumable. And then we have the Easter egg. It's a new consumable, and it's really trash in my opinion. First of all, it's random. It's completely RNG what you get. You could get, out of the 3 things, you can get a fire rate buff for your tower, a range buff for your tower, or give your tower hidden detection. And I don't think it's really good if you can't choose what you're giving your tower. Let's say you really need a fire rate buff in that exact moment, and all you have is an egg. You throw it, and then you just get hidden detection when they don't even have like hidden enemies yet. So it's kind of just a waste. You can't really rely on the RNG. The range isn't even that big. It's just a really mediocre consumable. So I think it deserves a D tier. Not F tier, even though it's really bad in my opinion. Just use a range or like a fire rate flag instead. However, it doesn't hurt your chances of winning. Unlike one other, which we'll get to next, it's just like either you get something that's not very useful, or you get something that's pretty useful, but yeah, not that good either way. Next we have the Napalm Strike, which is actually really good at A tier. I think it's better than the Airstrike because it just does so much more damage. It also lasts longer, it lingers. So basically, just if you put a Molotov in the Airstrike, kinda, which is to be expected. Pretty solid, nothing noteworthy. Next we have the damage flag. Now the damage flag is, in my opinion, S tier. It's really good. It's a huge range for 1 minute, 20% extra damage on all your towers, which late game is absolutely insane. Like if you have a bunch of rangers, for example, 20% damage for a minute straight, on top of also giving it to all your minigunners and all your other towers. Insane damage, especially good late game. Just nothing bad about it. I always equip it, so when a boss comes that we just barely can't beat, you can just drop one of these and bam. And they're also plentiful. You can just get them from any crate, really. Then we have the range flag, which I think is a C tier. It's not that good. You have the UAV, which I think is way better. And range isn't worthless. It's not bad per se. I mean, the faster like they are in range of your tower, the more damage they're gonna do eventually. But compared to damage or fire rate, it's yeah. I wouldn't waste a consumable slot just for a bit of extra range. And on the fire rate flag, I think it's A tier. I think it isn't as good as the damage flag, because only 45 seconds of a fire rate buff instead of the 1 minute of the damage flag. However, fire rate is still really useful. It's easier to combat because you can also just have a commander, but like that, it also stacks with the commander, so you can just have a low fire rate. I think it's almost as good as the damage flag. It's just 3 DPS really for all your towers. And then the Sugar Rush, I think it's an F tier. What it does is first of all, it's RNG dependent, which is already kind of bad. It takes a time between 10 and 30 seconds. It will give you a fire rate boost, and then after the time is up, it will give you a minus fire rate boost. So you will lose fire rate for the half the time you got the initial fire rate boost. So let's say you get 30 seconds of fire rate, you will now lose fire rate for 15 seconds, which can really like bite you in the ass. And if you don't time it right, it can be detrimental, really. Plus, you can't really, since it's still RNG, you can't really decide, oh, I need it for 30 seconds, let's get 30 seconds. You can't really decide it. So it's RNG. Overall, you don't want to rely on RNG, and it also kind of hurts you with the fire rate debuff. So it's not the best in my opinion. But the Santa Strike, I think it's also A tier. What it does is kind of like the Air Strike, except it freezes enemies as well. I think the Cluster Bomb is still a bit better in my opinion. But it's still really good. It's almost S tier. Next up we have the Tree, and this one is kind of like mediocre. What it does is it reduces stuns for anyone in range by 30%, but it's just kind of like very niche. Stuns can be extremely crippling, especially at the final boss. But I think when you're at the final boss and you want to use it at the final boss, there's so many more like consumables, like the nuke, for example, you can use instead of it to help. Like I'd rather have more damage, like a fire rate flag. And plus, if you really struggle with stuns, you should just use a medic instead. Instead of relying on one consumable that slightly decreases damage. It's not even by that much. It's pretty niche. It can be very helpful, and I'm actually glad they have another way to fight stuns, because right now it's only the medic really, and very specifically maybe the warden and the gladiator that have stun resistance, but it doesn't really count because only they have it. So like having other towers like get stunned less is always welcome in my opinion. However, this is not really the way to do it. And then the Blizzard Bomb. This also is an A tier, maybe even an S tier, but the S tier is just like the epitome, so I just don't want to give everything S tier unless it really deserves it. It just slows and freezes everything for 20 seconds, which is a really long time. So it's kind of like the Flashbang, but like way more expensive. It also like you can't just look at the nuke, for example, say, oh, the nuke is the best, because you can only use one per round. So you can still use more flashbangs instead of blizzard bombs. That's why I think they're the same tier, even though the blizzard bomb has like better like crowd control. But besides that, it's still just really solid and really good, and it definitely deserves A tier, maybe S tier depending on the person using it. Now this is easy F tier. This is horrible. What it does, it has a like 40-60 chance of either giving you a good thing or a bad thing. 40% for good, 60% for bad, which is already against you the odds. And it either has like a chance of helping you by hurting the enemies. For example, it can like make them bleed, or it can just freeze them or stuff like that. Or alternatively, it can like double their health, make them nimble, and just like completely screw you over. And there's no way to like know what will happen. So in my opinion, it's just horrible because like it can just literally be a troll. Imagine having like a boss enemy, and then just doubling their health, and then it's already over. Even especially if you're struggling and having to use consumables in the first place. Probably the worst. It's just a gimmick, a huge gimmick. Yes, it could save you, but like more often than not, it's just gonna screw you over. I guess it's more of a troll than anything. And another new consumable, the Duck Squad. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I think it's about B tier. It's kind of like it sends 5 ducks in like from the entrance or the exit, I mean. And all 5 ducks have 100 health and have a unique explosion death effect. So one does before with electricity, and then another one does poison. So it just has 5 ducks with different effects. It could help you in like the middle of the game, kinda, and for leagues. However, it's maybe it should. I don't have enough experience to really tell what it should be. So to play it safe, I don't want to just give it a high ranking. It's really new, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I think it could be very useful, especially having like confusion and stuff like that, to like give you a bit more time and grabbing like killing a bunch of leaked enemies. So yeah, and then the 2 legendaries. First we have the nuke, which I think is a pretty easy S tier. It does 50,000 damage to at its impact, as well as having a screen-wide just damage effect, and it creates fallout, which also deals damage for the amount like it lasts. Overall, just really good. It's really good for clearing, especially the boss and like the boss little like enemies and stuff. Just so your towers can just focus solely on the boss. A lot of bosses that senses. Oh my lord. So anyway, yeah, it is really solid. You can only use 1 per match though, so you gotta be careful when you use it. But usually people just use it at the end of their like game, the last round. And it just helps with clearing all the little enemies that the boss spawns or spawn beside the boss, and just deal a huge chunk of damage. And then we have the molten monster, which is kind of like the nuke. It's just a really strong like final showdown kind of weapon. And yeah, it's better than the nuke in my opinion because it has 100,000 health. The molten monster that spawns, as well as shooting fireballs. So it's kind of like having 2 nukes really. But it's also way harder to get. I think you only got it from like the battle pass from the Frost event, and from doing a reward like achievement. Other than that, you can't really get it. So it's really limited and exclusive. But overall, I mean, there's a reason why it's exclusive. It's basically a free win in most game modes. So yeah, that's what I think every consumable is ranked. I have a lot of I've used every consumable, so I kind of know, except the Duck Squad. I'm not really familiar with it. But other than that, I think it's a pretty solid rank.